Hello again and welcome to JSConf. This is Leo Kettmeir of the Deno team, who's going to be with us today talking about this year's progress in Deno. 皆様、こんにちは。JSConf をいらっしゃいませ。Deno の開発チームのケットマイヤーさんを今年の Deno の進捗を発表します。
Hello. Deno Wrapped. What happened to Deno this year? First off, I'm Leo Kettmeir. I work at Deno since 4 years now, and I implemented various web APIs, including Web GPU, URL pattern, WebSockets, and many other things as well. But today we're not for that. Today we are for what we did in Deno this year, or rather what we did in Deno from 2.0 until 3.0, which is coming soon. So we are going through the timeline, and actually next week, it was supposed to be last Friday, we're going to release the first release candidate for Deno 3. So please try it out when it comes out. But for now, let's first take a look at what happened in Deno 2. So we have a starting point. Deno 2 was pretty important to us because it was a push for making sure that node compatibility is much better, as people were, complaining that Node doesn't work as well, like NPM packages and Node APIs were not great. But that has massively improved in Deno 2, but this also has improved since by a lot. Like Next.js apps work to some degree, I'm pretty sure. Vite, Astro, all these work now pretty flawlessly. Then, native support for package.json and Node modules. Again, that's more part of the Node compatibility improvements. And having actual way to package management in Deno. Before you would manually edit the Deno JSON file and add packages, remove. Sometimes the log file wouldn't output correctly, and then you were messing around with that. So we just added subcommands for managing. But also we completely reworked Deno install, because originally Deno install was a command for installing packages globally, so similar to like npm install -- global, but that was the normal behavior for Deno install. So we had to do a breaking change there, but I think in general people were quite happy with that. Then we stabilized the standard library, so Deno has a separate standard library that can be used in Deno, in the web, sometimes in Node. And it was unstable for a long time, but we did a push and it was stabilized. And then we added monorepo support as well. So we actually use this quite a lot in our internal programs as well. Having monorepos is quite, I would say, relatively important for projects. And then way more things, including like some improvements to nearly all subcommands. Minor things here and there, but it was a pretty major release, and hopefully we can achieve that with Deno 3 as well. But what also is important is to not forget what the releases in between of 2 and 3 did. So, for example, in 2.1 we released WASM imports. So previously we would have to do this, which is like, it works, but it's not great. There's limitations. So we worked that, and now you can statically import WASM files, which is great because it's part of the module graph, meaning that you don't need to have like read permissions to read a file. You don't need to do weird things if you want to use it in like your compiled output with Deno compile or with bundling. It's all part statically analyzable by the system and part of the internal module graph. And funnily enough, this also adds another capability, type checking of WASM users directly. So you don't need to write your own TypeScript files for like your WASM file. It will just be able to type check directly with Deno check, which I think is pretty neat. Then being able to embed assets in Deno compile. This was probably one of the most requested features for Deno compile. We completely reworked how Deno compile works under the hood, and now you can specify the include flag, and it will include these files in a virtual file system, let's say, and you can just read and write. Well, writing probably not, but reading, yes. Then we have permission prompt stack traces. Yeah, so currently, or before that, you could not really see where the stack trace for permission request comes from. So you probably were always searching, oh, where is this coming from? This is quite ubiquitous. Really annoying. So we added an envar, deno trace permissions, and this is relatively slow, like it reduces runtime by a bit. That's why it's not enabled by default. But it gives you a nice overview of, well, the stack trace of where the permission prompt came from. Then, for Deno task, we did some enhancements like dependencies. So a task can have dependencies, and it will run them all in the correct order. It will also manage if there are circular dependencies. It will errata for that. It will try to parallelize dependencies if it's like a diamond shape. So let's say A calls for B and C, and B and C call for D. It will try to run B and C at the same time. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Deno 2.1. There's obviously always many more features in these releases. I just picked the top 3-4 things in each of the releases. So let's get on to it, to OpenTelemetry, which is quite complicated and requires a bunch of setups. So I'm not going to go deep into what OpenTelemetry is. But basically, OpenTelemetry lets you gather and collect various pieces of information from your running program. Various pieces of telemetry, for example, traces, logs, and metrics. So here's a very simple example. We just have a server that logs and returns a response. And it just logs the request URL. And then we run the command for hotel. So you have to set the hotel deno and default to true. And okay, now that it says unstable hotel, that's actually not the case anymore. As of 2.4, I believe, it's been stabilized. And if you have like a hotel instrumentation set up with some platform like Grafana, or you're running your own stack locally, you will then get all the information from, for example, those two logs. So first one is from the console log, it's the logging, and you see all the different information for that specific log call and also the output. And then on the other side, we have the trace, which well, it shows how long it took, and it will also log to all the logs related to that specific trace. And this can go way more in depth than just this, but we don't have all day here. So let's go to lint plugins. So this probably was also a very requested feature. We have a linter, no one can hook into it, everyone still uses ESLint. So we made our plugin system viable, or our lint system viable to have plugins. And yeah, you can either specify your plugins locally or from your favorite registries. And plugins are defined very similar to ESLint plugins. So you specify a name and then the rules, and for example, this one basically bans the usage of a variable called foo. Very simple. And if anyone here has written ESLint plugins, this probably seems very familiar. And in addition to a more declarative way to define lint plugins, there is also a way with CSS-like selectors. So you can select specific elements in the source code and to do the context reporting for a lint plugin. Then, Deno 3 is maybe not as interesting to most people, but we added linking or patching of local packages. You can use your local npm packages directly without having to publish to then see if they work. You can just link them. Then Deno compile supports FFI and adds a new API for Deno build standalone, which basically is just a Boolean, which tells you if you're in a compile context or not. And well, supporting for FFI, I think is quite interesting, given that many use cases of FFI that I saw in the community were, for example, windowing of some sort, and those were not compilable, but now those are. And then we have more Deno format options. We added 14 more options to Deno format related to all kinds of things. I think semicolons, potentially indentation to some degree. And we added support for formatting in tag templates. So for example, if you have like HTML tag and then a template tag for that, it will be able to format that. It's HTML, CSS, and SQL are supported currently. Then we have easier Deno check usage. So earlier, you would always have to specify a file for Deno check, like Deno check main.js. Now it's a bit smarter about it, and you can type check your entire project directly. It will find the entry points. It will find the correct files to check. Then Windows code signing, probably not that interesting for most people, but it was quite monumental for us and really annoying to set up. So yeah, now all binaries on macOS and Windows are code signed. I'm not sure if Linux as well, but I think yes as well there. And then OpenTelemetry auto-instrumentation for node.js traces and V8 engine metrics. This means that any requests going like that are implemented with node.js will automatically get instrumented to some degree in traces. So you will get traces for various things of the node.js server by default without having to do any setup. It will just work. And for the V8 engine metrics, you can see like memory usage, etc., or in your Grafana dashboard, for example. Again, without having to set anything up, just you need to have like Grafana set up or whatever and set the hotel Deno env, and it will just work. And then span context propagation. This is something I think is relatively cool. Span context propagation means that you can have, let's say you have two servers that you're in control of. You can specify a span for one request. Let's say like server A makes a request to server B. Automatically it will give information about the current span it's in, and then the span will continue in server B. And once you look in like your Grafana metrics, you will see that all is part of one span, so across different servers. And it will still display it as being, like it shows where it's coming from, and it's different coloring, etc. But it makes it quite clear that you can differentiate, but also collect data across services. Then for Deno 2.4, I think this was pretty monumental, was the Deno bundle. I think, okay, I've said many times now there was some really requested feature, but this is probably the most requested feature in Deno since probably Deno 1. It's, we always had Deno bundle, but we removed it for a while because people were confused about what Deno bundle is. For us before, Deno bundle was just bundling stuff up, no transpilation or making more efforts towards being like browser bundling. It's just get all the files, put them in one file in a single place, and output that as a single file. But people were confused about that, and in the end we decided to remove it for a couple of versions, and then now we brought it back. So Deno bundle now uses ES-build under the hood, and does all the Deno specific behaviors implemented directly into it. And then we can also have minify option now. So you can minify, you can specify the platform. So by default, the platform will be Deno, so it's meant for Deno usage, which is the original Deno bundle from the old versions. And then, but now you can specify that you want it for browser output, and now you can specify where you want to output it, or you can also specify for source maps and generate source maps directly. Then text and byte imports. This comes all relevant to the previous point and also the WASM point that, for example, before you had to do something like this to read files, and it was not static. But there is the use case of wanting to have parts of the module graph again for like Deno compile, or you want to just not have to do it at runtime, but just always be directly there. So now you can just statically import text and bytes. Now there is an example here, but maybe some of you may know that these are actually not stabilized yet. So text and byte imports are not part of the specification yet. I believe they're stage 3, but they're not actually in it. And this is a conscious decision we made to go ahead of spec. This is, I think, one of the first times we did that, because the spec was being a bit slow, but also we coordinated with people from TC39 to make sure that this is actually the behavior as it will be. There is currently one remaining discussion, I believe, which is about strings, or the text type of what format it should be. But aside from that, I believe it is pretty much complete and about to land. And we don't think there's going to be any changes necessary on our side. This seems relatively straightforward. Then we have permission system improvements. So now you will be able to specify like wildcards for allow net, then also cedar like strings for allow net. So you can have ranges of IPs and domains that you want to support. And also a while back we added, so with Deno 2, we added allow imports flags, which basically specify which remote hosts the Deno imports can come from. So if you do like https /esm.sh, I think it's not one of the default ones we allow. So you will have to specify a flag to enable importing from an external source. This was made as a conscious security decision that you don't import files from some random place, because you will not get like permission prompts for those, because that's part of the static graph, and we always assume that it's safe. So we changed that, and but we never had a way to deny a specific place. So now you can specify to deny an import location. And we added more node globals. So this means that in the normal Deno global namespace, these node.js specific globals are available, be it buffer, global, set immediate, and clear immediate. And there's a bunch more coming soon as well. This is because people have been hitting problems where they want to use a lot of node APIs out of the box, and they, for us, only worked with specific flags, or just in a scenario where it's being consumed as an npm package, which is not ideal. So we've been making improvements in that regard as well. And this is, some people probably not happy with this, some people really happy, so we've got to find the right balance on that. And that's everything for 2.4. For 2.5, we had the permission config files, which, again, another really requested feature. So now you can specify your permissions in the config file. So you have a key for the name of the permission. So in this case, it's process data, and you can specify all your permissions. And then to run with the permissions from the config file, you will have to specify the -p flag. And in this case, we have a name, so it's process data. But if the name is default, then you don't need to specify the name. You just have to specify -p. -p is required to use the permissions from the config file, else it could be a bit problematic in terms of safety. So let's say you just run Deno run main.ts and suddenly it's using permissions you were not expecting. This is just to make it explicit that you're actually reading permissions from the config file. And to add to that, then yeah, there's the case of the default, and you can also specify permission groups for specific subcommands, for example, test or coverage, I think as well. Bundle might be affected by this as well. So all the different subcommands that support the permission flags. Then, permission audit log. This has been asked a couple of times to me in person at various conferences, and I was like, okay, we've discussed this feature so many times over a span of 3 years. It's a half-an-hour project. Let's just do it. And we did it, and I think it's worth it. So it adds Deno audit permissions env, where you can specify an output path, and it will log all the permissions prompts that it will hit. Even if you're running with allow all, it will still log them all. So this is very useful for the case where you're, let's say, converting your node project to Deno. And you just want to run with -a just to experiment around, see how it works. And you don't want to get all the permission prompts, but you still want to know where the permission prompts are happening. So now you can see this JSON-L format which contains the datetime and what kind of permission and the value for the permission. And V1, we might change the format. Unlikely, but just for safety, we added versioning. And in addition for that, this also combines with the Deno trace permissions that I showed earlier, which will then show the entire stack trace in the value as well on the trace field and an array of strings, which is the individual stack traces. And then we have the Deno bundle. Well, not the same one as before. This is a runtime API for bundling. So this adds Deno.bundle, and it is relatively similar to like the ESBuild API. So you specify your entry points, your output, the platform, if you want to minify or not. Relatively straightforward, but after we released Deno bundle, the subcommand, people were asking for this as well. And now maybe one of the most controversial points for people that work in the standards, WebSocket headers. This is not a specification compliant change. This has been something that was discussed many times, and but the browsers are not, or the specification is not willing to do this change, at least as of yet. But it is a big problem because many projects want to use headers for their WebSockets. So we came to the conclusion of implementing this in the most standard likely way to happen, which is by adding an object back and having a headers field. It's very unlikely that the API will look any different if specs will land, but I hope it doesn't in the case that it is different. But hopefully the specifications will actually accept this change for once, because Deno now supports this, Bun supports it, Node doesn't have built-in WebSocket, but this clearly is, people want this, so let's just support it. And obviously this doesn't work in browsers, so be careful about that, but hopefully it will soon. Then, dependency management, we kind of revamped Deno install, so it will show you all the dependencies being added directly. It will not bother showing you like indirect dependencies, like dependencies from your dependencies. And it's just a nice UI overall, makes it quite clear. And yes, that is indeed 161 pluses. It's very, I'm not sure if anyone will actually bother with the pluses, but it looks nice. And that's pretty much it for what we have done from 2.0 to 2.5. There is one more, which is Deno deploy subcommand, which is related more to our product, which is Deno deploy. And this just adds ways to interact with it. Probably not the most intriguing part, but yeah, a whole subcommand just to publish and do various things with Deno deploy. Now, on another topic, this is all in Deno itself, but it's also the Deno standard library. It was stabilized in 2.0, but since then we added quite a bunch of new things. So, for example, the standard library CLI module now has interactive utilities, so you can do prompting and select prompting, spinners, progress bars, and I think there's a few more that are not stabilized yet. Then we have testing, snapshotting has been added as well for testing, built-in native inline. So yeah, standard FS. This has added node.js compatibility for SVFS. So basic Deno compat basic FS APIs are available now in Node. So this just uses Node.js under the hood, and since Deno supports that, it will just work with Deno and then Node.js and probably Bun as well. And we added 2 new packages, send random and standard C4. Now, then there is JSR. JSR has gone through a lot this year, I would say. The governance board was formed and announced. We onboarded external moderators for the community. So we have people that go through tickets and manage any sort of reports, issues, etc. Yarn and PMPM and BLT have added native support for JSR specifiers. And as of, I think, 2 weeks ago, there is an open PR for NPM to support JSR specifiers as well. So hopefully that will land in the near future. And then NPM itself will also support JSR specifiers, which is pretty nice thing. Their website added then also dark mode. We have an in-depth download chart. So it's not like NPM where you only see like a little bit. This one is split by different versions. You can see across different amount of time, be it week, month, or even year. And it's more like if you are familiar with the Rust ecosystem, like Trace.io shows the version download chart. And then a vote and ticketing system. This probably is not that interesting to most people, but for us it was quite major because everything was going through a Google group. And if people here have used Google Group, they might know it's not the best system for ticketing. And on the governance board point, we have 5 members. We have Ryan Dow, we have Luca Canzonato, we have James Snow, we have Isaac, the creator of NPM, and we have Evan Yu from Vue. Then we have some more things coming soon in JSR as well. We have started collaboration with Socket.dev as of like 2 weeks ago for adding security reporting and auditing directly into JSR itself. So JSR will receive a new UI for showing like a Socket.dev score. And on that turn, we will, when you publish to JSR, we will push the publish information to Socket.dev as well, and then they will do all of their fancy security analysis. Then very soon we should have GitLab sign-in, so you will be able to use not just GitHub, and this adds the capability that we will be able to add more different sign-in options later, like let's say Google, Microsoft, or other things. Then there was also active discussion about passkeys, so maybe we'll add something around that. And then easy overview of all the licenses used by a package and its dependencies. So in the dependencies tab, you will be able to see all the licenses of each dependency, and also we will show you an overview of every license used across the entire dependency tree. This has been requested quite a few times because, well, if you're a corporate company or even an open source project, you need to know what kind of licenses you're using. So thank you very much. The links, the QR code is for the slides if you want to look at the slides. So yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Do you know if BAN is supporting JSR protocol?
Okay, so the case with BAN in this regard is they very unlikely will support it themselves, but if NPM adds support for it, they very likely will support it. And maybe there will be also some work on node.js to add some JSR specific capabilities directly. If that happens, then BAN most likely will follow suit. But so far we have not seen any interest from BAN in JSR. But maybe that will change.
Okay, that makes sense.
Thank you.